I missed that one.
Anyway, hate to be a little drum, but I just, I've been watching a couple of news articles this weekend and last night, and the country's really getting crazier and crazier. So, and I'm saying the same thing in hopes to get people's attention, because we need to have a united middle class. A united and healthy middle class creates a strong America. And you have to listen to who wants that to happen and has ways of making it happen. And then we need to vote people in and vote people out according to their strengths or weaknesses. And it's going to take some time to do, to get finally a handle over our political system, because we have no handle over this. And the founding fathers gave us this. We owe it to them. They weren't perfect people, and they were elites, but they at least saw that this country, the middle class of this country, needs to run the important issues directed by our politicians. And just like you have a head of a company and you have the crew of a company, if that's not going right in a company, one or the other, that company goes out, right? Well, this country is much, obviously a whole different scenario, but it matches a bit, because we're on the way to communism right now, or socialism, and there's no getting around that fact that either we come together and we pull together and we look out for our neighbors and we talk to each other and we do those things that our founding fathers gave us the freedom to do, and or we don't have a society anymore. Anyway, we're going to start getting this down. I'm still working on some lighting. Barbie's moving to California, so she's going to be producer Barbie remote. But I think we might be able to get her on camera this way. So with all of that said, you guys have a great weekend. Say hi to each other. Go out and say hi to somebody. Just wave at them, man. Start that way. Just wave at them. Every time you see them, wave at them. You don't know them. And then you'll see the reaction change, evolve. You'll see the body language evolve. Go out and say hi to a couple of people today. Anyway, love you guys. Thanks for being here.
Hey, folks, how you doing? I'm Rod Duff. I'm your host of Insights and Straight Talk. I was just talking to Brandyn back there, and you'll hear, well, a lot of you already know him. He's a frequent guest on the show, but we're talking with him. Next week, I am actually going to be a columnist for a newspaper. I've never written a column for a newspaper before. Written lots of stuff, but that's pretty exciting stuff. So that's one thing. This is a shortened week because of the holidays. The Mangum City Library, is shut down from Wednesday to Friday. I may or may not do a Saturday show. I haven't really decided yet, but if I do, it'll be in regards to the Regeneration School project. Emma Lynn is working now, and the holiday season, she's working from early mornings. But these aren't the things we're here to talk about today. Today, we're beginning a journey into what it really means to be a family in America right now. Not the story you see in glossy magazines, not the highlight reels you scroll past on social media. I'm talking about the real thing, real families, real pressure, real choices, real hope, real struggle, real middle class life in motion. Because the old model of the American family was built for a world that just doesn't exist anymore. Back then, you picked one career, you stayed in one lane, you bought one house, and you held on. But today, families are building something different. They're reinventing on the fly. They're raising kids while the world is shifting underneath their feet. They're trying to build stability in a time when stability feels like the rarest thing in the room. And that's exactly why we're here, to tell the truth about what families face and what families overcome in the rest of 225 and beyond. Today, I'm joined by somebody who knows this journey firsthand. My oldest son, a frequent guest on the show, as I mentioned, and a man whose story reflects the new American reality more than most, Brandyn Duff. Brandyn and his family live in a newly built part of the Dallas suburbs, that's kind of the neighborhood that you move into when you're not just chasing opportunity, when you're trying to build a future. He and his wife are California originals who packed up everything, crossed state lines, and planted new roots in Texas. And my granddaughter, Maddie, cute as a bug, 2 years old, born in Texas, already growing up in a world that looks nothing like the one her dad grew up in, nothing like the one I grew up in, and nothing like the one we thought we were passing on. Brandyn is a content creator, an investor, an entrepreneur. He's a husband, a father, a man who decided that the 9-to-5 life wasn't going to define him. Instead of one lane, he built many. Instead of relying on one income, he stacked streams. He built a life where he and his wife each lead, each contribute, each push, just in different ways. His wife is a force of her own. She's property management executive by day, cycling instructor before the sun even comes up. That's the reality of so many families now. Two people working hard in different lanes, each carrying part of the load, each trying to raise kids while chasing purpose and stability at the same time. And that is why this series begins with them, because their story mirrors the story of millions of American families today. In this episode, we're asking the questions most people don't ask out loud. What happens when you're no longer satisfied with a 9-to-5 and you start stacking streams? What does that really look like behind the scenes? You know, that what happens when your kids are born into a world with higher costs, faster change, more competition, more noise, more pressure, and far fewer guarantees? What roles does each partner play when both are working hard, but just in completely different ways? And how do modern families make those kind of roles work without falling apart? And the biggest question of all, when a parent says, I want more for my children, what does that really mean now? Is it money, time, freedom, stability, less stress, better neighborhoods? Or is it something deeper like confidence, resilience, or the ability to adapt in a world that never slows down? These are the questions that sit inside the great middle class. These are the conversations happening at the kitchen tables, in cars after long days, in late night moments where you wonder if you're doing enough or becoming enough. So buckle up, because the next American family is not a success story told from the top of a mountain. It's a story being built from the middle class up. It's loud, it's honest, it's imperfect, as you all know, it's hopeful, and it's built on the same grit that built this country. And today, we start with a family I know well, a family I love, a family living in the world like everyone watching this show. Brandyn, welcome, and thanks for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to jump on the podcast and have a discussion with you.
I absolutely love these times because they're just another excuse to chit chat and catch up on how everything's going and how you're doing. We've got already 3 or 4 people. This one person can't decide. They're going off and on really quick. And And I've done a new thing. StreamYard has this thing called Mars now, and what it allows you to do is however you're watching the show, like if you're watching it on your phone, it has that aspect ratio.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
if you're watching it on a laptop, then it has the more long aspect ratio.
Definitely.
And we're now at 27 people. So the only thing I don't get is I guess it's two separate shows on YouTube. So I don't know if I'm gonna be competing with myself on the numbers, but so what? Let's open it this way. So what is your, just broad brush, what is your typical week looking like these days? And did I get everything right pretty much in the monologue as far as how everybody's rolling around town around your house?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say typically the day for me is waking up. I wake up pretty early, between like
Go ahead, say
3
it.
to
There
4
it is.
a.m. Today, the last couple days since it's the holidays, I've been waking up a little bit later, but I would say I get my daughter up. I'll eat breakfast, get my daughter up at 6:15, get her ready, put her stuff in the car, and then take her to Montessori school, which is like a private school for toddlers, and then work throughout the day. And then from there, I'll pick her up in the after evening around. I try and get there by 5:30. They close at 6, and then from there I take her home, get her ready, and then Lauren comes home probably around 6:37. She makes dinner for the both of us. We've realized that Madison doesn't like to eat alone. She actually likes to eat dinner with us. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
so she will eat, and I think that's just because of how she has gone with Montessori, because she eats with all the other children. So for her, I think that keeping the same environment in a sense where she's eating with people, that allows her to actually eat. Previously, when we would just give her regular food, she wouldn't eat it. She'd be like, no, whatever. And then now that she sees us, me and Lauren eating, and then Madison eats with us, she actually eats, which is kind of great. Where it's not just a bottle before bed. It's like she eats dinner, or what we're eating every single night. And then we put her to bed by, lately, she's been staying up till 7:30, sometimes even 8.
Ooh, big
Uh,
girl.
she's definitely growing up fast. And then she goes down to bed. Me and the wife have a glass of wine, maybe watch a show, and then I'm in bed by 8, 9, and then rinse and repeat.
So let's hover on Maddie for a second. One of my favorite subjects. But you mentioned the Montessori preschool she goes to. We have almost 100 people on, Brandon.
Nice.
Yeah, the Montessori that she does. I know I've seen a couple of the videos that you've sent me, especially the one where she started riding a bike like 6 months ago. But what are some of the things, we talk about in today's world? She's coming into a place that's completely different, it's more competitive. The world is shifting, and work expectations, and which is a long way away from her. But what does she learn? What is different about Montessori that is preparing her? Because I know you guys chose that school system for a reason, and it's got a great history, so we kind of know what it is. But can you kind of say what are some of the things she does when she's at school, preschool?
Yeah. So Montessori is typically a place where, like, daycare is like where they just watch the children and
Right.
essentially don't really teach them anything. Montessori is more of independence. So they are taught how to be independent, how to play on their own, how to more like real life skills. And so at 2, she just turned 2. She can say the full alphabet. She can count up to 10 She goes, "I'm two." She uses full sentences, like "Mommy, let's go to our room," uh, or like just
Wow.
real like full sentences for the most part. She knows how old she is. She says, "I'm two." She can put on her shoes and socks by herself. So all these things, and from just interacting with other kids outside of Montessori, we've noticed that she's just, uh, I guess, light years ahead because she knows all the colors. She knows all of
You mean
the
kids around the neighborhood and all that
yeah
outside of Montessori? Okay, gotcha.
yeah
Friends and family. Gotcha.
exactly. And so she knows all the what is it called? All the animals. So like we've gone to the zoo a few times, and she'll point out all the animals.
Oh, wow.
She'll what is this? Also, she does a lot of different things, and so like she'll have like a tissue. She'll wipe her nose. She'll ask for a tissue. Say, "Can I have a tissue?" And she'll wipe her nose, and then she'll take it and throw it away in the trash. And open the trash can, put it in the trash, and close it. And we don't have any kind of what is it called? Child safety locks on our house. So all the cabinets are like wide open. That can be, I mean, they're not wide open, but they can be opened. And they
Yeah.
teach them how to get around the house without getting into anything because they know they're not supposed to. And so they teach them all these different things.
So did the school have you not, I mean, was that a conversation that when you first started with them or don't put the safety locks on, or was that just something you guys didn't need to do? Because I remember those from when you guys were little.
We were going to, but then I think we just got lazy, and then we realized that she ultimately just doesn't get into things, and will close. Like if I accidentally leave the trash open and I'm cleaning something up, she'll go over there and close it. So just by seeing the things that she does, we just haven't done it in one, and she's able to not get into things, and she knows what's, I guess, good and what's bad, and she doesn't put things in her mouth. I think that they just teach them these types of things. I mean, you have to think, instead of having someone that just watches over your child, you have an expert who is trained in developing kids for 8 hours, 10 hours a day, better than we could do it because we're so busy. And so having someone who can really focus on that, plus having all the kids that are all doing the same thing, it kind of builds that that
Reinforcement.
mindset.
She's seeing
Exactly.
the others. Man,
It builds that reinforcement.
Are they all about the same age?
So I believe there are 15, maybe 11 kids under the age of 3, and I think there is 3 or 4 that are just over 3. And she's the only thing that's holding her back from going to the next level is potty training, and she's not ready for that, but she's getting close. The other day she said, "Daddy, I went poo-poo in my pants." And so that's a sign that she's getting ready to go potty trained. And so, and some of the kids are also
because she knows it, she's aware
right,
of it.
right.
Gotcha.
And so once she starts telling us that she wants a diaper change, once she starts letting us know that she's used the potty, then that's when we start transitioning into potty training. And once she's potty trained, she'll go up to the next level well before 3.
Wow. And that's all built on what their pace is, right? In other words, what they're learning, like you just said, they're learning that they're accomplishing this, and this, and now they go to the next thing. It's a
they have milestones,
self-guiding milestones.
Yeah. So once they hit certain milestones, then they will take them to that next level, depending on their age and the milestones that they hit.
So as you know, on this show, we like to kind of get to the journey before the journey. And so why don't you give a little bit, without making me look too bad, about your growing up and what kind of brought you into the mindsets that you and your wife are developing within your, questions are coming in pretty quick here. But would you kind of tell us the before story?
Yeah, so I've been kind of an entrepreneur all my life. I remember as a kid selling mistletoe during Christmas. I remember selling candy bars, lemonade stands. I also got into video games pretty early, as most kids do, and I would use software that would play a video game for me, and I was able to take that software, that automation tool, build out a video game character, and then sell that video game character to other people, so that they didn't have to do the long and boring parts of life of the game. Right. From there, I then got into, I was an athlete my whole life. So a ex-girlfriend of mine suggested I got into personal training, and I was like, sure. So I started training, became a personal trainer, started at LA Fitness, and then built out my clientele list, and then went privately, built that up, and I started having multiple trainers that took over my overflow. And then I ended up investing in real estate.
Before you go, let's hover here for a second on the personal training. Didn't you also have like a membership, like that was, in other words, you were training online? Am I right about that, or am I off there?
Kind of. So I did, but I also had, I was mostly doing it in person. And when I wanted to transition to online, and I found that for me, I didn't know enough marketing, and I guess I wasn't ready for it, and it wasn't the best for me. There are other people that make a lot more money doing it online too.
Yeah, and that's kind of come out since. Like, I think after COVID is when that really you were kind of ahead of your time in that, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I found that my niche was predominantly in person, just because my clientele, and it allowed me to grow a good network of clients that referred business to me. And I started online, and I think that just my clientele doesn't want to be in the online doing it in a gym by themselves. They're looking for that support. And so my niche was not tailored to an online atmosphere.
All right. So go ahead. I just wanted to pick up on that because I forgot where that was. I remember that being part of your evolution, let's say. But yeah. Go ahead.
I got into real estate because I didn't want to grow up to be a 45-year-old trainer at some point. And then sure. I bought 10 rental properties, or 10 doors, essentially, 4 properties, 2 single families and 2 4 units in Vegas. I couldn't afford California. And so I invested outside of the state. That did really well. When we got up to 6 units, we hired a property manager to buy back our time. And then we moved out to Texas and gave up California, started all over online because I wanted to kind of be a stay-at-home dad. And that's where I moved to, is Texas, and absolutely love it.
That's a beautiful state, isn't it? I mean, that whole area that you live in is just gorgeous. You want to hit a couple of these questions here? I haven't had a chance to really look at.
So is moving to a new state becoming the best path for the middle class? I think it depends. I think it depends on what state you're moving to, what opportunities are in that state, and if it aligns with your goals. So like for us, Texas, we didn't really choose that. It kind of chose us because we had in-laws that were moving out here. We didn't know that they were 0% state income tax, and going from California to 0 state income tax was a huge win. And Texas is growing so much that ultimately it's just a no-brainer when it comes to growth and opportunity here, because there is a lot of tech companies, a lot of tech companies are moving out here. A lot of medical tech is out here. The medical industry is huge out here, so I think it's a great area to be. But there's opportunity all over the place, so it just really depends on what your goals are and what you find to be best for you and your family.
Yeah, and the stock exchange, Texas has its own stock exchange now, even as well.
Yes, I don't know if it's live or not, but I heard that.
I think it just went live. I think it's either in the process or just did go live. They've been approved. I think Florida is going to be doing the same thing here pretty soon because of all the people moving out of New York,
Right.
down into Texas, down into Florida, not just because of the beaches. The great question, Damien. The other part of that is, I think there's a lot more opportunity. I mean, you mentioned about being online, and certain situations, you have to have a brick and mortar building to go to work. But more and more, there's a lot more opportunities to be able to pick your own route and not do the one lane, one house, one place all the time. You have more choices, is what you were saying earlier.
Definitely.
Right?
Yep.
So let's go here to John Morris. Do you think traditional jobs can still offer stability today? That's a good question.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we only have like a 4% unemployment rate right now. It's a little higher than the normal, but ultimately, yeah, I mean, jobs are needed. We need people to work because it moves money, and the more money moves, the more things grow. And so I think
That's how
that
capitalism works.
right.
That's how
And
capitalism works. It's got to move.
I think that there is going to be a shift where entry-level jobs are not going to be stable anymore just because of AI. It can do the jobs of lots of different things. So like data entry is very easily outsourced to AI. Customer service with guardrails and frequently asked questions, or your company's documentation or SOPs, are all things that can be added to AI, and customer service can help. I had to tow my Tesla the other day to get a new tire, and the whole service, where my location, what service I needed, everything was all done with a prompt or AI of some sort, and didn't need any kind of customer service help. It was just all done through AI essentially. And so I think that these entry level jobs that a lot of people are trying to shoot for are probably not going to be stable as they once were. So, I mean, we look at taxis, we look at transportation, logistics, all those are going to be outsourced with autonomous vehicles, teachers possibly with AI specialized learning. So you really need to find something that it's funny because a lot of the trade jobs, I think, are going to be the jobs that are going to exceed very well. Plumbers, electricians, anything with hardware kind of thing, welders, things that might not necessarily be replaced right now, but maybe later with robots. But as of right now, I think that the trade skills that a lot of people kind of were like, oh, no thanks, I'll go into tech, are realizing that those are probably the more safer bets.
Yeah, it's actually flipped on its head now. You had mentioned, and one I'll add to it. I was talking to somebody the other day. The legal profession is going to totally go up, turn on its head, because a lot of the stuff that lawyers do paperwork wise, a lot of that could be done very easily with AI. You still got to proofread it, and like you said, sometimes AI can go a little wacky on you. But another one you had brought up, speaking of those entry level or job shifting. Remember we were talking about, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, and you were talking about an economy, a recession coming up, and a lot of that has to do with the shifting in jobs. That jobs are starting to shift. And you gave me one example that while AI can write something like, say, code, can write code very fast, much faster than a human can. But you're going to need managers for those. So there's going to be a lot of that kind of shifting into new roles as support for robots or AI or automation, right?
Definitely. Yeah. I think that people will essentially manage swarms of AI instead of doing it themselves. So, like coders, they will have, just to give you an example, something like Cloud Code or Cursor or even Anti Gravity, which is a new one that I think Microsoft or Google just released, which is agents or
Okay, go
agentic
ahead.
agents that essentially what they do is they have a bot or an agent that does the code, and then that will send that code to a debugger, and that agent will debug all the code. And then there'll be another one that is kind of like a counsel and say, is this what we need? Is this not what we need? Do we push it to development, or do we run it back through the Scrum Master essentially? And they essentially all work together. And then the
So
human
that's the
would,
team. That's the
right,
team. And then
of
the human is
agents.
managing team of
Yes,
agents. Yeah.
right. And then
So,
the human would manage that.
so the names you said early on, were those code writing softwares? Is that what those names that you were talking about?
Yeah. So Claude, Code, Cursor, Anti-Gravity are all tools that uses their IDEs. I don't know what it stands for. I can't remember the name, but they're essentially a program that does the coding for you. You just put into a prompt what you want it to do, and then each of those agents, the debugger, the whatever you want it as an agent, will fill those roles and do what's needed for the code base. And so it will, each of them have their roles, and then depending on what you need, they'll all start working together and build out whatever it is that you're looking to create.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you kind of got me into, not kind of, you got me into this, meaning the AI and the automation stuff. Trying to start learning that and working with it. Actually, when Maddie was born, remember we were down there and you said, "Hey, try this thing called Chat GPT," and 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 it's interesting that each agent, you literally, you give it a set of like, you set it up and you say, you're my agent for doing blah blah blah, and you give it instructions on how its framework is to be, right? And
Right.
what it, like you said, what you want that agent to do, what its purpose, its whole mission, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is to do that thing. And then it also learns as it goes, either you or learns its own activities, and it then improves upon itself. And then the next agent is built for a certain thing, and then you give it instructions, and then it works with those instructions according to how you set it up to be, right?
Correct.
That's a pretty neat thing. And then when you're writing the code, all you got to do is, I want this code to do this, this, and this, and create, I don't know the right words to use here, but, and then create that code that will then create whatever it is next that you're creating.
Right.
That's pretty cool. I wanted to hit this one here.
Ready to do that one.
I know this one here. How do you teach young? Now, I was trying to figure out where to put this. Some of these are bouncing around a little bit, so I was going to try and put them in order. But let's go ahead and jump around here a little bit with Justina.
Yeah.
How do you teach young kids resilience with so much change happening? And that's only going to become more, or is it going to be a different? I don't know. You. I call your generation the bridge generation. Nobody after you is ever going to experience anything like I experienced, right? How life was, and I know that happens through generations, but this is moving dramatically different and very quick.
I think we don't know what we don't know. So kids aren't really going to know before the internet. They're not going to know before AI. So I think it's more the parents that are going to need to know how to be resilient more than the children, because the children don't really understand or have experienced what we've experienced growing up or what my dad experienced growing up. So to them, it's indifferent. I think it's fascinating that I was thinking about this the other day, that my car drives itself, and my daughter, she's only 2, so in 13 years, she might not even have to have a driver's license because uh, there won't be a need of one, and so she won't really know how to be resilient or know what having a driver's license is, because all the cars will essentially drive themselves. And so all she has to have is an app to call a car, and that car will pick her up, take her where she needs to go, and then drop her off, versus my dad having to walk uphill both ways in the snow to go to work. I mean, she won't ever have to experience that. And so I think that it's more of, to reiterate, I don't think young kids need to be resilient. I think it's us living now that are going to need to be resilient.
So what does that look like? What is being resilient for you? Because you make an excellent point there. It's going to be too late for me. I mean, at some point, you know, life only lasts so long. I'm going to have some big challenges when that car comes to pick you up, but I've been watching it happen. What do you mean for you guys being resilient? What does that mean?
Well, I think that people who do not change, I think the worst advice you can ever have or take is never change. And if you never change, you're gonna not be adaptable. And we're seeing it with how the tech industry is getting demolished with AI, because AI is being able to do a lot of jobs that people thought that tech jobs were kind of like the golden ticket, but now we're learning that they're being easily replaceable. And so if you're not being able to adapt and change, then I think that, and have that resilience, then you're going and thinking that everything's good and gravy, you're going to be left behind. And I think that the people that are saying, oh yeah, AI is just a fad. I mean, we look at 30, 40 years ago when they thought internet was just a fad. And we look at all the tech companies that essentially didn't adapt to the changing market, they went bankrupt. And so just like a human, if you don't adapt to what's happening, then you're going to also go bankrupt.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I like this one here. What habits help families stay grounded in such fast-paced world? So we opened up and you were talking, and it's only getting more and more. I mean, look at your daughter. You know, you're 2 years old. Probably, I can't remember back when, but probably more advanced than when I was 5. You know, or first grade or second grade.
Right.
That's the pace at which the world is now on its way to moving, and the expectations go along with that. So how do you in such a fast-paced world, how do you, I like first of all, you said that the school, she wants to eat with you guys now, so you guys all sit down, which is obviously an awesome way to create, to reinforce that time together. And that's where a lot of, as she gets older, that's where a lot of important discussions will probably be coming out of. So what are some of the habits you guys look at? I know that at the end of the night, you and your wife, your lovely wife, give her a kiss on the cheek for me, would you? You have your time together and, over a glass of wine or a movie or talking about the day, I assume. What are some of these habits?
I think that you can make it as fast paced as you want to. I think that we live in a world that people tend to, I think you kicked me out, or I don't know. No, I'm still here, but I'm not.
Why did that? What?
There you go. So I think it depends on how fast paced you want to make it, because society, I mean, we're pressured to keep up with the Joneses, for instance. But ultimately, like if you wanted to go and live on a piece of land, build your own house, and grow your own food, you can have a very slow paced life. You don't have to be into tech, be into AI. You don't have to do all these things. I think you need to make it a split screen. But ultimately, you get to choose on how fast paced you want to make it, because it's ultimately up to you on what you want to do with your own life. But I mean, I started like I have a 3D printer here, and I 3D printed a hydroponics little garden, and I'm going to start growing. I'm probably after this, I'm going to take it to Home Depot, get it cut out, and make it so that I can start growing leafy vegetables, lettuce, cabbage, strawberries, peppers, and that sort of thing. And there's a bunch of videos on YouTube that you can watch on how to do your own vegetable hydroponic system. You can buy it, and you could essentially live off the land and grow your own stuff, and then do seasons and all that. So ultimately, it depends on who you are as an individual and how fast-paced you want it. For me, I think it's important to just be present and check in with your loved ones, especially if you are in that life of being fast-paced. My wife is very go, go, go. I'm more of like sit back, relax, and I very much calmed her down, I would say. And I would say that just taking the time to be present is probably one of the best things. Finding things you can do together. I mean, all the very cliche things is just finding the time is number one. Don't work on the weekends. Do things together. Spend the holidays. My wife is very much a planner. So the whole weekend, I mean, she set up holiday pictures so that we can take pictures together. We've done all these things, watched the football game together as a family. So all the things that I wouldn't do, because I'm not a big fan of watching. I mean, I played sports all my life and was an athlete, but I'd rather play sports than watch them. And so having her plan that out allows me to take the time to spend time with them, because she planned it out, and happy wife, happy life. So I'm going to take that time. And I don't really think of it as she sees it as watching the football game, but for me, I see it as I get to spend more time with my family, even though we're not really doing things that I would necessarily want to do. But it's that accumulated time together as a family that adds up, that gives, I guess, good, not morals, but good traditions to my young daughter.
Exactly. Yeah. And those are traditions that kind of set the framework, set the structure for the next generation, and building, closer and closer ties together. And we're going to need that more and more as when pace builds up. Like you said, though, you made a great point. You can choose your lifestyle.
Right.
You can choose how busy or frantic you want your lifestyle to be or not.
Right.
Um, and that's the beauty of of still having the freedoms, the things that we still do have in this country. Great question, Maria. I appreciate that. Antonia, uh, what is the biggest financial challenge families face in this new economy? And that's a real that's a that's a that's a that's a question that changes across the country. Obviously, different states, different regulations, different this and that. But overall, what do you see? And or you talk to your buddies. I mean, what do you see any different financial challenges that are in today's world that maybe weren't as stressful as they were before?
Um, I mean, just the ever increasing prices of everything, I think, is what challenge a lot of families. I mean, for example, our both our property, but our insurance has gone through the roof, and that was because of the fires in California. And so, with the fires in California, they decided to raise everyone's prices across the board, and so that made
Oh, really?
our
For
yeah, I
home
mean,
insurance?
home insurance. And so our home
Wow.
insurance went up like 2 or 3 times in the last couple of years, and it's much more expensive now. As well as just food is, I wouldn't say food is probably the same for us here in Texas. It went up for a little bit, but it's come down a little bit. And then that's also why if you could, I guess, do things that supplement your food or things that can supplement your income or your cost of living, then that's definitely going to reduce cost. Also, I think that people are just bad with money and don't understand how money works or don't pay attention to it enough. And in doing so, they lose track, or if attention, where attention goes, money flows. And so if you're not paying attention to where your money's going, then it's just going to go out the door. And so if you have a grasp of where your money and the attention that your money is headed, then you're going to obviously do a lot better with your money. And just budgeting, there's so many different tools that will show you how much money is going in and how much money is going out and where it's going. So just use resources to understand where your money is going. So I think the biggest challenge has been the challenge for lots of people over the years is just they're bad with money and they don't typically pay attention to where their expenses are going. And we have it so easy nowadays. And they don't teach financial responsibility or financial literacy to children or as you're growing up, because if you understand where your money's going, then you would be much more responsible with it. And so I think that's been a challenge for everyone from the start of time.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I know part of that you were talking
No, I
directly to
wasn't.
me because
I
I'm
was not.
I know you weren't, but I know I am not. That there are certain wheelhouses that I live in, and I have challenges in other areas. So, and Tony, I don't know how to pronounce that name, but thank you very much for your question there. How do parents protect their kids from the pressure of constant uncertainty? And really, I think is this going back to the same thing of, I think, less in Maddie, she's younger, right? And more in Emma. She and I talk about this on Saturdays quite a bit. But and again, is it the same thing? You don't know what you don't know, or how would you
Yeah.
answer Victoria here?
Same thing. I think it's and it depends on the age of the child, obviously, but humans are very adaptable. And so they typically will adapt to constant change. And so I think that's good to teach your children to be adaptable and be able to do things on the fly, change environments, be able to try a lot of different things. I mean, all growing up, we played soccer and then baseball and then football. And then we kind of found that football was the thing that I really enjoyed, but it gave me a lot of different skill sets. Growing up,
Rugby,
rugby, yeah, that's my favorite sport. Wrestling, track. So
wrestling.
lots of different avenues that I've tried. And I think me also, I'm always learning new things. I've gone from personal training to, well, first like pizza delivery, and then I thought I was going to be in data entry because I typed really fast, and then going to personal training to um, real estate investing to content creation to all sorts of different skill sets. And you take those skill sets and you apply them to what you want to do in life, and you become very fluid in what you're able to do. Like I just passed a certification just the other day, two of them, that was a Scrum Master and a product owner. And by passing those two certifications, I realized I was already doing that with SaaS, which is software as a service. And I was running a team that we maximize incremental value with our product and our team to be able to do that. And I didn't know that was a thing until I took this certification program. But passing that certification.
Wait. What were you just talking about? What does that mean? What you just were talking about?
SaaS, software as a service.
Software as a service, and then you were describing it, and I didn't understand what it was that you were describing there.
So I ran a team of developers, and I was
Okay.
essentially a Scrum Master, and I didn't know that was a term, but in corporate America, in a SaaS industry, in the software industry, they have Scrum Masters that essentially keep people into doing the framework of Scrum, which is to constantly add incremental value and adding features in a short amount of time. And then I got a certification, which is a product owner, which kind of is responsible for making sure that the product is actually adding incremental value to stakeholders. And for me, I wanted a software that fit my needs, but I realized really soon that other people would use that software too. And so I started asking our customers what types of tools or features they would like for us to add to the software. And that's essentially what a product owner does. And that's what I was doing before I even knew what a product owner was. And by taking a certification, I realized that I was already doing that. And by just passing those certifications, which won't be replaced, I would say, I mean, can be replaced, but if you're not at that level as of right now, and it's a job that typically pays between $100,000 and $125,000 a year. And so that has allowed me to essentially have people come to me and be like, hey, would you want to interview for a product owner role? And so that's essentially why I said be adaptable, because you don't know what can happen to your career. And if it's a pivot point for you, maybe you're interested in doing something totally different than what you've done in the past. So being able to accept change, because a lot of people just don't want to accept change, and they'll just decide that they'll keep running down the same road, and then they get nowhere and they get in a lot of trouble that way.
Yeah, it's kind of a theme now, because never before. I mean, as I opened, the old way was you picked a lane, you
Right.
bought a house, and you held on, and you just
Right.
that's been for generations. That's middle America, and this new theme is you got to be able to pivot. You got to be able to change. You got to be able to be open to change, right?
Right.
Especially in today's world. let's go a second question here. Is emotional, and Tony, security more important than financial success for kids today? What do you think of that question?
That's a great question. I think that, I
It
mean,
is a really good
I think that so I think it depends on the person. Well, it depends on, I guess, where you are in life.
circumstance.
So, emotional
Oh,
security is,
okay.
I think, very important for showing to your kids and loving them and showing that you care and that you're there for them at a very young age until they become very independent, where they're making their own path. And so I think that having that emotional security and showing that, that you love them and that you're there for them and they can lean on you is much more important than financial success for a kid, because they don't really understand financials or life at that point, and
Sure.
they understand how much daddy's home or mommy's home, or uh, they were there for my football game or cheerleading or dance practice or music class. And so I think that being uh, there emotionally is much more of a more important thing as they grow up, and being able to provide for them is kind of secondary. I mean, you're going to provide for them regardless, but you don't need to be a millionaire or make $100,000 a year to show up. And so I think that that's more important at a younger age, and as they forge their own path, being able to be your own, take care of your own self, I think is super important, and that's where the financial aspect comes in.
Yeah, I think it's also, I think it's easier to be financially successful if you're emotionally secure. If you've got that background, you tend to make better choices probably. And so it kind of feeds into it, right?
Yeah, I think that it just, I mean, you always hear people that are like these multi-billionaires or millionaires, and they're work all their life, and their kids are like, oh man, I wish dad was home more often, or they are off doing drugs and getting in sorts of trouble because they didn't have that person to show and guide them. So I think it just depends on uh, a little bit of both. I think it doesn't cost you anything to show up, like I said.
Yeah, no doubt. That's an excellent point. Thank you very much for that question. Tobias looks like he's winding it up here for us. What mindset shifts help you, Brandon, build multiple lanes successfully?
I think having an overwhelming confidence in yourself is number one. I think that a lot of people will give up before they even try. They will go into something and be like, I can't do this. And then they keep trying. They keep telling themselves that they can't do something. And by doing so, they're already kind of have one foot in the grave. And so if you have the mindset that you can do anything, I think that ultimately that will keep pushing you forward. Having the motivation to start, and then having the discipline to continue, I think is very important. So I think having both the mindset of that you can do anything and that nothing will stop you is both things that will get you very far in life, and that will essentially be the moving force, so that you don't rely on motivation, but just having the discipline to wake up every day and keep grinding now is, I think, the most, I guess, the mindset shift that I've always had in order to accomplish my goals.
Yeah, very, very well put. So we're just over an hour now, and we've got right on the edge of 400 people here. What do you want to kind of leave? We're starting this as a 10-part series, and each part is about your generation, but different aspects. So I think we'll continue this along. Um, but what do you want to leave everybody with here before I wrap up and move along for the day? What's the lasting thought of your fan club here? What do you want to leave them with today?
Don't be afraid to pivot. I think is the world is obviously changing very rapidly, and just because you think you might be an old dog who can't learn any new tricks, I think that is a bunch of BS. I think that you can constantly learn and grow and develop. And I think that most people, once they get out of high school or college, they think they've made it and that they don't need to keep learning. And I think that most people need to, because it kind of gives humans, we're meant to continuously be challenged. And if you're not constantly being challenged, I think that a lot of people fall into this trap of being complacent, and then they just get depressed, and they don't have the mindset to continue to go forward. And so I think if you brainwash yourself into thinking you can do anything and removing all of the negativity that is either in music or your environment, or watching the news or whatever, I think that will help you have the motivation to then have the discipline to do anything you want and get whatever you want out of life.
Beautiful. Well said. Hey, will you do me a favor and throw in the private chat any contact information you want to leave? I mean, we'll do this again, but I like to, in case somebody has a question on something you were asking or talking about, that way I can throw it in here. Is this your website?
Yeah.
Or is that your YouTube?
It's my website, but I'm going to be updating it here soon.
What are you going to add to it?
All sorts of different things, from just growing my own, just what I'm doing in life.
Gotcha. Well, hang out. I'll see you on the other side. Let me wrap this puppy up, and then I'll chat with you in a sec.
Perfect.
All right. Love you. All right. So that was a great show, folks. What I was alluding to with them is, let's see. So the series that we're doing is called The Next American Family. Episode 1 is what we're talking about here. In today's different aspects of this is the family edition. The next one is called The Confidence Gap at Home. Money Talk 2.0, again, the family edition. The world their kids, my kids will inherit, meaning my grandkids will inherit. And just, it's kind of building on that. Like we kicked off the series on Saturdays with Emma Lynn and the next generation. Today is a world that is moving at extremely fast pacing. As you can tell, it's a little later in the afternoon here. We got some sunshine coming in off the stages there. I'm really excited about the column that I'm going to start writing, because that should start filling up this Mangum City Library with kids' voices at the table. And the Regeneration School project, Brandon was mentioning something about that. How the fifth core project, or the fifth core subject in school, in this vision of the Regeneration School project, is that part of that life part that needs to be taught. The kids. Brandon said it best. If you're not taught in school how to do a checkbook, or how to manage your money, mental health, all sorts of things that school is right now just teaching kids to take tests, and at best, and at worst, it's worse than that. So that's Brandyn's website. Mine's rodduff.com, and this is Insights and Straight Talk. We every week, 6 days a week, we do a show, and it's for the great middle class, and it's about rebuilding from the inside out. And each of the different lanes, I like to talk about lanes in this class. We get into politics and current events, but not judging this or judging that, but more, how are we going to get control? How are we going to get back what our founders gave to us as a gift, which is from the people, by the people, and for the people. And that's something that we have to have these conversations day in and day out, and realize the importance as this world keeps moving faster, and options are widening up. Our options are showing themselves. There's new worlds that are coming. Brandon said, 12, 13 years from now, his daughter, my granddaughter, may not ever have a license, a driver's license. That may not be necessary with autonomous cars and the way the world is moving. I always mention, there's this old like 50 show where it showed all the cars backing out of the driveway and then heading off to work, and it showed this like typical family morning, 7, 8 a.m. kind of thing. Well, all that's, that world doesn't exist today. However, if Elon Musk is telling us the truth, we're all going to be having cars that pull up out of the driveway here very shortly. While we may not all have them, but they are becoming commercially available. My Instagram just dropped out. Maybe it was on for an hour and dropped out at the hour point. But we're also streaming to Facebook. We're streaming to LinkedIn, and obviously YouTube, and X, and then Instagram, all the way up until about 10 minutes ago. So stay at the end, past the outro. I'm doing this funny little, well, I think it's funny. I don't know if it's necessarily funny, but there's a couple of seconds there I try and give a last message on. So this is Insights. This is Insights and Straight Talk. I'm your host, Rod Duff, and I am out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here, and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.
Like button.